Good afternoon and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, October 27th, 2014. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to take a moment of silence to reflect on our duties as a board and our duties to the town, and also for our soldiers who are serving both overseas and in the United States. Thank you. I think I'll save the last notice for when we reconvene, but I would like to make a motion for a 60-minute recess.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Please don't have any discussion. All in favor? Aye. All right. We are back in session, and at this point I'd like to announce that the Board of Selectmen is taping this meeting, and also East Long Meadow Cable Access is recording this meeting, and I have to ask if anyone else is recording this meeting. And you are? Thanks, Ben. Our first hearing, we have a few liquor license changes in liquor license hearings today, and our first one is for Tudor House Discount Liquors, and Hank Champagne is here. If you'd like to come up, Hank. Nice to meet you. How are you today?
Very well. How are you?
Good, thanks. And you are here today because the state, as we'll probably be saying numerous times over the next month or so, the state changed the opening time allowable on Sundays to sell liquor from noon to 10 o'clock.
Yes.
So we've got a flurry of activity of people coming in, and I don't blame you. So I don't know if there's, you are here representing Tudor House. They've been around. I used to know Ed Spear.
The first license in East Long Meadow, I believe.
Was it?
I think it was the first
Wow.
license in the town.
Wow.
Yeah.
So obviously, once again, you're requesting an application for extension of your Sunday opening time to 10 a.m.
Yes.
Is there any discussion from the board to start off? I know we've approved this for a few other locations already. If not, I'd like to make a motion to approve the extension of their Sunday opening time to 10 a.m. from the existing noon.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
You're all set?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
How are you? Do we have to just adhere to the move to? Okay. Because these are hearings, we have to adhere to the time that you're scheduled. So if you don't mind hanging tight for a few minutes.
Do we need to close out the other hearing?
Are they all one hearing? Is it one hearing for two licenses, or is it one hearing for?
It's two hearings, two separate hearings.
Okay,
So
then we might as
close
well close the first hearing.
And I didn't ask if anybody from the public had anything
Yeah.
to say about that. It's,
Is there anybody here that has any comments regarding the first hearing? All right, then the first hearing is closed. Why don't we go on to approval of minutes? I know we had some changes to the, I believe, July 22nd minutes, which hopefully we're sending.
yeah, I have, you threw me off a little bit here.
We can move them. Were there any changes?
Just to the 6th.
August?
Executive, yeah.
Okay. Well,
I know.
July is okay?
See me looking at you?
No.
Let's go to the 6th. Here you go, Lorraine.
Did you say those are the 6th?
Mm-hmm. Just a few on the executive. The other ones were fine.
Okay. Then I guess in that case, and the 22nd is, I know you had some changes with the 22nd.
Yeah, I have. I
Debbie.
didn't bring those in.
Okay, then
Sorry.
we'll
I'll have
hold
to,
off on
I have
the
to put them
22nd.
back in my packet.
All right, we'll hold off on the 22nd, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the open session minutes and the executive session minutes of August 6th, 2014 with the changes set forth.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Under old business, special town meeting. That's sort of self-explanatory, isn't it, Nick?
Just wanted to put that on there in case the board had any sort of last-minute discussion. In particular, their first four articles, Articles 3 and 4, the board has consensus and is not going to move those.
Correct.
Articles 1 and 2, it's my understanding that Selectman Gorman will intend to get up and move those articles at this point.
Okay.
So I don't know if the board want an opportunity to talk about that or any of the other motions and so forth that you might have questions about.
I don't know. So 1 and 2 are going forward.
Yes.
I knew 1, but not 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have any questions or anything regarding them. I know I've spoken to appropriations, and in a perfect world, they'd like to see these come back in May, but that's fine if you want to present them tonight. I'm in favor of both of them. So, I guess that's all I have to say about the matter.
I was under the impression that usually when we're doing contract talks that we would do it in the annual meeting, but if that's what you've already decided to go ahead and go for it,
Yeah, that's
let
what,
the chips fall, may it what I may.
yeah, that's what appropriations had said, that they would prefer to do anything having to do with contracts or stipends at the annual meeting, but, like I said, I know they're not going to support it, but I have no problem with you bringing it forward, so.
Okay. Bill, that's what you want to do?
Is that what they usually do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Usually at the annual, anything that has to do with,
salaries or
Salaries
stipends
or so.
increases, yeah, they like to do those at the regular meeting.
and that way we have a bigger body and it doesn't look like we're trying to circumvent.
We also
the-
have budgets
We
that,
can hold them off till May.
okay, if you want, do you want to?
If that's what your pleasure is.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you want to present them, that's fine, but if you want to hold off till, and I don't know if you want to, that's Article 2, obviously.
Right.
If you want to,
Now, number one, do we have enough still in our budget to handle that for this year?
Well, we really won't need that till May anyway.
Until May, so can we do that, number 1 and 2 in May?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I think that might be a little cleaner, and I think we have a better, it's a fair thing to do for our citizens and so. But I would support you if you needed to move forward too.
Yeah.
So, whatever is your
Yeah,
pleasure.
I'll wait till May.
Okay.
okay, so
All right.
we'll explain what to do when we get in there, and we'll go from there. All righty. The budget calendar, I know you have a copy of it in there, Nick.
Just bringing it back for the board to take a look at, and in particular, the timing of things, and looking ahead at the calendar, really, you have, right now, the proposal is for the budget documents to be distributed to department heads on Tuesday, December 2nd. And right now, just for frame of reference, Board of Selectmen meeting in December, the board has decided to meet on the 9th and the 16th. And then the next meeting would be your regular time, January 6th. So that's the board's current plan. And then budgets, the Appropriations Committee wants to get the budgets back on Tuesday, June 13th, January 13th. So you can see it's a bit of a tight time frame to get budgets turned back around, especially to get them back from department heads to the Board of Selectmen and to
Right.
have a meeting so that they can be considered and approved, or at least sent to appropriations with whatever stipulations that need to be on them. My questions for the board are, since we're not, when would the board want to perhaps look at having some kind of a budget meeting with its department heads? The night of the 6th, the night of the, some night that week, or try and do it maybe the 10th, or whatever the date would be, the 12th or something like that. So you can see you run out of dates rather quickly, so I wanted to put that in front of the board and get some sense as to, what the department heads are going to have to work with.
Okay. You'll have to see what, when we get the good news on the 2nd of December, go from there, and obviously it is going to be tight, especially with the holidays. for, you know, for the department heads to get their budgets together and, as you said, get them to us. So we may be looking at something the first week of January, so we can review them. If there's any changes, get the changes done, and then get them back, get them ready for the 13th.
1 week?
Right. Well,
To
we're
review?
not gonna have, well, I'm not saying 1 week to review, I'm just saying we have to set a time somewhere in there to get them and review them and get them back.
So you don't want to do anything, just through the chair? You wouldn't want to do something in December?
Yeah, well, once again, it's dependent on whether
That's
they're
right, we'll
done.
just-
If the, you know, I know we may want to decide on a deadline for us, you know, for them to get them to us. Of maybe the, you know, if it's the second, even if we go 3 weeks, you're right in the middle of Christmas and
Christmas,
whatnot,
right.
so we'll have to take a look at that as it gets
Yeah.
closer.
So it won't, not until December are we going to think about that? We'll probably think
Well,
about it in
November.
November. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Nothing yet, we're gonna just look at it again in December, or November, I mean, and see what we can do. All right. It's 5:10 now, so we might as well have our second hearing. And our second hearing is for Countryside Store, J. Shri Ganesh. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay. How are you?
Hello.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And this is another liquor license hearing, and you are here also to extend your Sunday opening time from noon to 10 a.m.
Yes.
Okay. And you've been, just as way of history, you've been owners now for, was it
About
4 years?
3 to 4
3
years.
or 4 years, yeah, I remember.
Yep.
Okay. And is there any questions from the board as far as anything relating to the time extension?
Well, it's primarily just the same thing, right?
Right, right.
Mhm,
I
It's
think they're all-
mandated by law.
In that case, I'd like to make a motion to approve the extension of Sunday opening time to sell liquor from noon to 10 a.m. for Countryside Store.
So moved.
Is there a second?
There's a second.
Any further discussion?
It's nice to finally meet you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
You're all set?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
We always do these and they're
Thank you
automatic, and
very
I forgot to
much.
ask if the public has any
Oh.
input. But the only
There's a
public
public-
here is Ralph. Do you have any input, Ralph, before we close the hearing?
You already closed it.
No, we didn't.
You just accepted it and
It was
extended
passed,
your
yeah.
hours.
You missed the other one anyways, and that was approved, so.
Well, if you want to go on record or saying something, we
Yeah.
want to give you that
I have
opportunity.
no problems at all with Countryside Store extending their hours to
Okay.
10 a.m. on Sunday.
All right.
Thank you. The hearing is now closed. Our superintendent of public works is here. There's no problem with moving him up, right? That's not scheduled, that's not time.
not a hearing.
Time. All right, why don't you come up, Bob?
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
How are you, Bob? You are here to educate us about the Summers Road landfill and what needs to be done to it.
I am, and also request that I guess, the Board of Health, not the Board of Selectmen, but the Board of Health, support a capital article relative to closure, the first phase of closure of the Summers Road landfill. You might recall, we talked about this back in June, before we submitted a draft plan to the state for closure of the landfill over the next probably 3 or 4 years, with the goal of doing the work primarily with their own forces, and also with the goal of, by doing so, the DPW would then be able to continue to use the site for ongoing composting activities, which is really our primary, DPW's primary interest here, is to get the site in a condition that the state will allow us to continue to do what we're doing out there right now. Nick assured me that we have 5 minutes, so I'll keep it short tonight. You may recall, probably the
You gained 15 minutes by
Okay.
going and getting on early, so.
last time I think I took a half an hour, so I'll try to keep it close to 5 minutes. Probably the best thing to do is to take a look at the colored map that folds out in the handout, I believe, that was passed on to you. We had talked about this again back in June. The pink portion or magenta portion of this graphic basically shows where the historic bulky waste landfill had been, and the portion of the site that had been properly closed in accordance with the requirements of the time back in the 80s, and that's primarily where the transfer station is right now. After that portion of the site was closed, the bulky waste landfill was closed, there continued to be landfilling activities that took place into the rear of the site, woody waste, anything from yard waste to limbs to wood waste, whatever happened to come onto the site. The Board of Health continued to run that as a landfill for a number of years after the front portion of the site was closed. The other piece, and that's the green portion of the site that I'm looking at towards the rear. The other activities that took place and were really documented as a result of the assessment work that was done a number of years ago was that for a long time it appears that there were dumping activities that took place out in some of the wooded locations to the north of the site, which is shown in the yellow portion of the map. That area was never really closed or capped. An alternative to closing or capping of that would be to go in and attempt to try to remove all the materials that were dumped there over the years. The conclusion a number of years ago, and I continue to agree, is that it would be much more cost effective to grade that site off, cover it with essentially fine dirt, silty dirt, not a very high, high-tech landfill cap necessarily, as opposed to trying to remove all of that material, and you never know when you might stop as you dig and dig and dig more. So the thought again and what had been proposed was to cap the green area and to cap the yellow area. What we've put together, because we're in the capital budget time of year right now, is we've put together a plan, a schedule, and a budget for capping the green portion of the site, leaving the yellow portion of the site, which is larger, to a later date, maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3 years now, but really try to focus perhaps in fiscal 16 on the capping of the green portion of the site. Primarily because it's closest to the existing activities, it's the area that's easiest to get into, work your way basically from the back of the site back to the front of the site. To support that, we're continuing the concept of having the DPW complete the closure activities because we have a vested interest in this site. Really, we have a desire to continue to use this site going forward. Even though the historical activities weren't our responsibility, the ongoing activities and the future activities we would see as our responsibility. So we think it's worth our while to participate in closure activities and really to do the primary closure activities with our own forces. To support that, we put together a fairly simple, I'll start with the schedule that would indicate that we would start the closure activities on the landfill, assuming it looks likely that we'll receive funding for the capital that's needed for this closure activities. There are some upfront activities that need to be done in terms of permitting and wetlands flagging and things like that that don't require a capital appropriation. So we could get started on those during the current fiscal year, but we obviously couldn't get going on the actual capping activities until we get into the new fiscal year, assuming that funds were appropriated for the capping activities. But the goal would be to get in there and get this work done for this first phase during fiscal 16 before the end of the construction season of calendar year 15. From a cost standpoint, we put some numbers really to kind of set things in perspective on the table that shows up on the preceding page. We took a look first at what we expect the closure activities on this first phase, the 1.6 acre phase of the landfill closure, would cost if it was done with outside forces. The majority of this work, just to note, was done by my new town engineer, Dan Murphy, who has an extensive background in solid waste work, so he's very adept at pulling these numbers together and had a lot of past experience to pull things together. And if this was done in a conventional manner where you would put together a set of bidding documents and put this project out to bid and hire an outside contractor to come in and do all of the work and basically have the town's only responsibility paying the bills, we'd be looking at upwards of $300,000 to do that for this initial phase. Looking to do this with DPW forces, What we tried to do is we took a look at the very same tasks that need to be done. We identified which tasks would be done by the DPW, and then where the DPW would need capital support, either because we would need to rent equipment, we may need to purchase some materials, but relatively low cost compared to what the cost would be if we had to do this work using out-of-house forces. So the comparison we came up with is a budget of between $300,000 if it was done using outside forces to just shy of $80,000 if it was done internally. I want to note probably the biggest single cost item here is really an uncertainty right now. The capping would be utilizing, there's a very large stockpile of soil material on site that's been accumulating over the past 20 or 30 years and really was accumulated by the DPW for this purpose. We recognized that the landfill needed to be capped. So basically, anytime there's any surplus material on a job site, we have been shipping it to the site, and the pile's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger over the years. We recognize that some of the standards for those materials have changed over the years. Some of the, for instance, 20 or 30 years ago, if you had a broken pipe in a trench, you just dug a hole in the trench, you took the broken pipe and the dirt, you mixed it all together, and you put it in a pile. You can't do that these days. You need to separate those materials from the earth before you can dispose of the earth. We don't know for certain what we're going to get into once we start moving and spreading that pile. So we have a fairly significant item in here for what we're calling unsuitable soil removal, which is the screening out of any asbestos materials or anything else that might be present in that pile. And that, as I said, is by far the single largest line item. The other line items are really equipment rental, items that we don't do ourselves, like hydro seeding of the surface once we're done, stump grinding. Given that we're working over the top of a landfill area, the state doesn't want us to remove stumps. They want us to basically grind them in place so we don't disturb the soil. So that would be an outside contracted service as well. So what, my goal is to bring the board up to speed. Ideally have the board comfortable with the DPW, myself, and my town engineer putting forward a capital appropriation submission to capital on behalf of the Board of Health, because we really look at this at least from the sort of the ground below as a Board of Health item, from the ground up being a DPW item. Recognizing that we would be supporting this fully through not only through the construction phase if the funds are appropriate, but through the capital planning phase as well. But feeling that the entity that should be putting this forward would be the Board of Health.
Okay. And this obviously is a necessity at some point to do the, to cap the, for health and safety reasons.
That's correct, and I believe that the Board of Health for many years had a line item on there on an annual basis, I think the tune of about $150,000 per year for multiple years, recognizing that this was going to be needed as budgets got tight. Those funds were dropped off the capital plan for the time being, but we've known for a long time that this was going to be necessary.
Okay. Now you have here the total with DPW forces of like $79,950 or $80,000, but the items that are not DPW wages are like $59,000, including that contingency of the $25,000 for the soil. So would you actually be looking for the 59 or the 79 as far as a capital?
We would, this is similar, for instance, where we request a capital appropriation to complete a water main installation project where we complete the construction activities ourselves. Our labor comes out of the DPW operations budget. Strictly items that we would have to purchase or pay for out of house would come out of the capital appropriation.
So that would be the equipment rental, the outside labor, and the materials?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from Chairman of the Board of Health?
You want to get started on this in April?
The thought is there are a couple of things that we could do with existing forces and existing operating budgets, such as flagging the wetlands, for instance, which is the flagging isn't time consuming, but then the permitting process to get the approvals from the Conservation Commission can be time consuming. We'd want to have all those approvals in hand by July 1st when the funding became available to actually move forward with construction. So we would start those a couple of months earlier. Again, assuming we made it into the capital cycle and capital is willing to get behind this and we see what happens at town meeting, but would take that risk to at least get those activities started using our forces and our operating budget.
Okay.
But we really have no recourse, right, Bob, because the state is making you do this.
You will be required to do this at some point. I can't say if it's going to be this year or not. What has brought this to a head is really the state saying in order for us to continue the composting activities and the receipt of yard waste and other waste material at the landfill, we need to properly close the landfill that those activities rest upon.
Okay. Once we close this landfill, where will we be going after that?
There isn't currently any waste being stored in the landfill. Strictly, we have the transfer station activities that occur on the surface and the composting activities and the yard waste. So nothing is getting buried. Nothing's been buried for 10 or more years at this point, I believe. So there, everything will go through commercial haulers as it currently does.
This is our first read of this.
Yeah, there.
When does he need to know?
Yeah, when is your, so you want to get this on the capital projects that are coming up with this budget cycle?
Correct. We're on the same cycle. We did present this, and just for your information, we presented this to the Board of Public Works at our last meeting. We wanted, obviously, them to be 100% behind it as well, so that both boards are working together. So we are all approaching that November 7th deadline for submission. Again, we would, with the board's blessing, at the appropriate time, put that paperwork together and submit it essentially on the Board of Health's behalf.
Okay, because obviously the only problem being, we don't have another meeting before the log, we do tomorrow, I guess, before the 7th, so, I mean, obviously,
Well, at least if it's tomorrow, we have overnight to look at.
that's true. Yeah, we can,
Yeah, and I have a meeting with you, it looks like, so I'll be able to ask you some questions. Actually, no,
is
not
that
till Thursday.
agreeable to,
I just found out today.
make a decision tomorrow night on this? Well, you've already, you know all the details.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
I'm ready tonight.
All right. Let's see. Well, actually, there's no, I mean, I'm trying to think, there is no real downside to approving it. You know,
It's something we have to do.
I know, well, I know I should defer to you
One way or
because this is a
another.
health department item and you are the chairman, so. And you walk the land?
Yep,
Yeah.
I want that.
Okay. And, so you've got approval of DPW, you need our approval, and then you go forward to, you present it to capital planning?
Correct.
Okay. I guess the question is there, I'm not sure what there, I mean, are there any questions that you might be able to answer now?
Well, it's kind of like a compilation of things. One, we got the material, I think it was late Friday. Saturday, I was at a conference representing the Board of Selectmen. And then Sunday, it's a religious day, and today's Monday, so.
Doesn't allow much time. Yes.
And I don't think 24 hours would make that much difference. At least it affords a phone call to you tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay.
Or even maybe tonight, if you want to stay up late.
Certainly. I will be, actually, I'll be,
I've heard of your history.
okay. I'll be at a seminar all day tomorrow with the town accountant on setting up new enterprise funds. She and I are
Okay.
going together,
Yeah.
so, but my cell phone will be with me, so
Okay.
feel free to call.
Okay. Then that's what we'll do, we'll hold off and we'll vote on it tomorrow night, and then just take it from there. I don't want to load up tomorrow night, but that's fine. Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I found out today. I'll check.
Well, Wednesday, but, okay.
Is that the other meeting?
Yes.
Do we have to post that?
No, that's not what I'm talking about
Okay.
at all.
Okay. All right, let's move on. The next item is the liquor license update.
The board had asked me to speak with the police chief about any license issues that are out there. And the chief, after consideration, said really there was nothing that he would want to report to the board. He didn't see anything in particular that needed to come before the board during the renewal process. If I could, though, I would like to give a report to the board about the establishment over on Shaker Road, Nadine's. grill,
Mhm.
Nadim's Mediterranean Grill, which was announced was closed in August. It's my understanding that there will be new owners who are going to be coming in and speaking with the planning director, and they've had some conversations to date. I've had conversation with Mr. Kashu about the license renewal process and how it could be affected for the time being. He will presumably go through the liquor license renewal process because we're right in the middle of when they're starting to come back.
Okay.
So the upshot is that there may be a request for all parties involved to come before the board as part of a meeting, not a hearing, to talk about what the plans may be. And that was as a result of a conversation I had with council. Certainly you can speak with council in more detail if you wanted to about that. But I wanted to just give the board that update. And I intend, again, with advice of council, to send a communication in writing out to Mr. Kashu about all of this.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Next item is the liaison policy. Is that a carryover?
It is, and with the board's permission, I'd like to ask for that to be carried over.
Okay. So we will table that.
What's to be put on that?
It was to be reformatted.
The only, not changing the words or anything,
No,
just,
right.
Oh,
And
okay.
I haven't put it.
oh, got it.
formatted.
Okay, sorry.
About it.
Okay, no
Okay.
problem.
And
But
next
it's
i-
already been passed. I just want to make sure we're not
Yeah.
trying to vote on that again.
No,
Okay.
And the next item is, we had an offer from the fire chief regarding our November 18th meeting to hold it over at the fire station in their training room, to sort of show off the training room. But as I've discussed with Nick, I believe we're going to have a pretty heavy agenda that night, and I think we decided that particular meeting, it'd probably be better to hold it at the, at Town Hall. And at some future point, I'd be delighted to go over there and hold a meeting there.
I have a question through the chair. Perhaps Don Mackey has people that go out and showcase things. Perhaps they could do a little program showcasing East Long Meadow and include it that way.
True,
I'm just saying there's more than one way to do it.
true. Okay. We follow through on that.
Yeah.
Next item, it's a request from Brian Ryan, the manager of Bentley's Bistro, to extend the normal closing hours from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. on Wednesday, November 26th, which is the day before Thanksgiving, in conjunction with a class reunion party. And the planning board's response, there were some conflicting reports here from different people that I had heard about, and I did some research on this, and basically they are not, much to their dismay, they are not getting a 2 o'clock closing time, because in order to do that, it would you cannot request a one-time change of your special permit. It has to be just a change of it in general, and they would have to change their closing time on the special permit from the planning board to 2 o'clock, and they're actually not overly interested in that. They're looking for 1 o'clock for that night. So that has already been approved by the planning board, and I will make a motion to approve it also by the Board of Selectmen for a 1 o'clock closing on, I believe, if I remember correctly, Nick, and please feel free to correct me, because of that particular day, it's sort of like, you do have to approve it, but it's sort of like grandfathered in, or allowed, because it's a holiday. I believe they get to kick it up to 1 o'clock anyways, from the way it was described to me by the planning board members.
My understanding is it's part of their special permit that they can make a request for certain holidays or special occasions to extend that extra hour. And then once that approval is gained, their next step would be to seek approval for the extra hour through the Board of Selectmen as the licensing authority. So you're approving the service of alcohol for that extra hour.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to approve the extension from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock on Wednesday, November 26th for Bentley's Bistro.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
Yeah, my understanding also, just to echo what you said, they can apply, bistros, Bentley's can apply for an extension to 2 o'clock, but it would have to go through the planning board.
Right.
And it would be a regular closing
Yeah.
of 2.
Right,
Yeah.
it's a permanent thing, not just a one-day thing. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Next item, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, District Local Technical Assistance Program Project Solicitation for 2015. Nick?
The board has received notice that the next round of these local technical assistance grants are available. Recall that the board is currently a member in the Shared Public Health Nurse Initiative, that grant, and has looked at and several other opportunities over the last couple of years, with either this kind of a grant or a Community Innovation Challenge grant. So really, if there are any ideas that the board would like to consider for consolidation of services with another community, that makes your grant that much more likely to be approved. I would ask that the board to provide me with some direction to maybe reach out to another community. Nothing off the top of my head unless the board wanted to look at, for example, trying to create some kind of maybe a health district or something like that. You recall the board looked at doing shared HR services as well. So this is sort of the idea here, although the turnaround time for this is, I believe, early December.
Okay.
So it's another quick.
Okay, so if we can get our ideas back to you, our next meeting is, I believe, the 18th, right? By then maybe we can get them to, would that be George Kingston?
No.
Or right to Pioneer Valley?
Well, he is, right, so what would happen here is the board would work on and give direction presumably to me, or maybe a board member would work on it, or some collaboration. And then if there was a desire to maybe do something with another community, that would be we would need to fill out our portion of the application. In the meantime, if the board members, it could be as simple as if the board members have an idea of, well, let's look at maybe consolidating or doing something like this with a particular service or department. Maybe it's just a matter of contacting Josh at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and saying, are you hearing this from other communities, and who are they? And can we try and work something together similar to with the public health nurse strategy? There's a few different ways to approach it.
Does anybody need a health agent?
Yeah.
We could
Yeah.
join forces.
How about
With a
like
whole-
animal control, Nick? You could,
Oh, no, that's an idea.
Animal control is another area where it's it's been done in other communities. I mean, so that, you know.
The 911, I noticed, was one of the possibilities that was listed in that document. Where are we with that?
I'm not sure. I think we're still the regional 911 dispatch.
But that is still ongoing.
Okay.
That's not part of this.
But it's listed in as
It
a
could-
possibility.
It's a
So,
possibility.
bless you.
But that one in particular, the next date to keep in mind is Monday, November 10th, which is the date for the evaluations of the proposals for the regional dispatch.
Okay.
no.
And this is due in December? The-
The exact date.
No, just
Yeah,
ballpark it.
just like the first
So-
week.
So
First
we'll,
week of
so we'll
December.
know November 10th where we're going with that, whether or not we can,
Well, on November 10th, the task there will be to evaluate proposals that are coming in.
Oh, okay.
So that's much farther along.
Okay.
What
Okay.
we should do is come up with some ideas of what we want to do as far as possibly getting maybe a shared services that this grant would help fund or help get started. So, i.e., as we said, health agent, animal control, you know, anything like that. So if we can get some ideas together for our meeting on the 18th, then we can go from there.
Sounds like a plan.
All righty. Next item, the 2015 Veterans Day ceremony. I will unfortunately not be here, but I believe you volunteered to speak. Okay.
But I noticed on the publication that they sent out, the flyer, they had all of us actually speaking. So I don't know if they were expecting all of us to speak or just
Yeah, well,
one. I know it had your name, and I was like, I kind of thought we had talked about you not being
Yeah, I'll
there.
talk to
But it's an
the
opportunity.
VFW, I believe.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Brian's gone from there, right? Brian
They're doing
Tidwell.
a little parade
Yep,
first.
yep, they go right,
Opening.
yep.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever participated in the parade.
Yeah, you just go, we go literally around the corner,
Oh, okay,
so.
okay.
Let's say we have to speech it, give a speech.
If
on
you'd
it.
like to.
Yeah, Selectman Thorpe is going to speak. I'm not going to be around, so if you like to, feel free, obviously, so. We'll just let them know what the final head count is of people speaking, and they can go from there.
Yeah.
All right?
We have Gail Candaris down and Representative Ash. Pretty sure Puplo will be there. Representative Puplo will be there too.
I don't like to cast bad will towards anyone, but she may be private citizen Gail Candaris by then.
Oh, that's right.
So.
That's right, because that's a week after.
Yes.
Sure, you're right.
Not that, believe me, I'm not a
Or
prognosticator,
she
but.
might be
She might
probate
be, yes, yeah.
person, so,
All right.
okay.
The next item is the MMA, I guess, is giving us notification about the annual statewide sixth grade essay contest, and I know, and Nick knows, and I believe Selectman Thorpe knows, because Selectman Gorman's never been there, but when we go to the MMA conference in January, usually a part of one of the highlights of the dinner is the winner of this contest gets up and gets recognized
Yeah, quite a
by
bit.
the audience, and we get to, I don't know if they get to read the essay?
They did,
Yeah.
they did read the essay, the
Alright.
gentleman who won, the young man that
Okay.
won. I think we've got a good shot at that. But I do have a question, and I am going to ask it publicly. The timeline for receiving this information, did you notice that the deadline was the 24th
November?
of October?
October, yeah.
And so I did place a phone call in to find out, and I noticed the email was dated the 17th, so this is the first time that we've met. So I'm hoping, since the essays aren't due until December 5th, that we can get our youngsters in there, because we really need to, I think that's one of the things that I'll bring up at their next conference too, is that we exist over here past 495, we really do. And we really need to get that information in a little more timely fashion.
Now,
you
do
know?
the teachers present this to the kids in school, Paul?
Oh,
Go ahead.
if I may, I did speak with our superintendent, and he has had preliminary conversations with the principal, and it does appear that they're all on board. We're just waiting to get more information. And Nick's been kind of driving this, so give you credit where credit is due.
Thank you. What if I could, the chairman just report to the board as well, is that I did confirm with them that they'll accept the application late.
Okay.
If they just needed to set a deadline to start sending out materials. So
Okay.
with the board's approval to pursue this, I will get that going tomorrow, and like you mentioned, the superintendent and the schools are all ready to go.
So if you would.
Great, sounds good.
You make the motion?
I'd like to make a motion to allow Nick to proceed with,
That we're going to accept.
allowing our sixth graders to participate in the MMA annual statewide essay contest.
So moved.
That's your second. Any further discussion?
I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and it'll be nice to have our youngsters participating in it. Maybe at the conference, we'll be presenting one of our own.
That'd be nice.
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is the Board of Health.
You got the grant, the SMRP grant, 2014 for $1,250. They informed the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection has awarded the town of East Long Meadow Sustainable Material Recovery Program municipal grant. The town of East Long Meadow received up to $1,250 for a targeted small-scale initiative. And I guess what we're going to do with this, Nick, got to vote on what we're going to use it for.
Right. And they give you some ideas, could be for composting initiatives and other recycling initiatives, but yes.
If I may, through the chair, do you remember a number of years ago when we had those composting bins?
Well, we in fact still just have a handful left
Oh,
from
do
the
we?
last effort, but that could be a good way to go. We were fortunate to receive grants typically in the same dollar amount range, and what it was used for was to purchase, to allow residents to purchase compost bins at roughly half price. And we'd get something like 50 or 60 compost bins sold out of that. Like I said, I think we have a handful left from the last time.
Okay.
And also, I'd like to include all funds of this must be spent and invoices received by June 30th of 2015.
Okay.
Okay.
We also have a grant for the Republic Service Community Funds for Capacity Building Award. And I think we have the young lady here, huh? Corinne E.
Nope.
That's MRC.
Wait a minute.
That's the MRC.
Nick, are we?
Well,
That's-
okay, right, if we're looking, right, the capacity building is a separate grant. If you're looking at the Republic Services
Okay,
Community
yeah.
Funds, that's with the hauler, that's the funding with the hauler.
Yeah.
And
So we also
we-
have that money we're supposed to vote on.
Well, we still have to figure out what to spend it on.
through the chair,
Yep, that's him.
through the chair, I do have some ideas.
Yep.
I don't know if on Channel 40 you saw where they were sending some veterans down to Washington DC.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could sponsor one of our East Long Meadow residents who's a veteran of World War II to go down there who's never been. Also, possibly celebrating some of our volunteers who are doing things strictly of their own time and not being reimbursed. If we could have maybe a couple from, or one from each department. I know we have one on the Council of Aging who deserves some recognition, perhaps have a small little gift card to give to them.
Yeah.
And then we had already said about the scholarships.
Yeah.
The last thing that I would like to recommend would be something along the lines of beautifying our community. I know but several years back we had it where a neighborhood would take over their hydrant and decorate it for the 4th of July. And so perhaps we could use that to pay for, have a contest if you like, but have that pay for the paint or whatever it costs to go ahead and beautify the hydrants in their neighborhood. That's what I was thinking.
I have something we could use for the veterans that I just saw in the paper. It just came out for veterans that haven't been able to walk for years.
Mm-hmm.
They got this device they can put on them. And matter of fact, one of the veterans that didn't walk for 2 years,
Mhm.
they put him on and he was able to walk to his wedding.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
How much do you know about a
Oh,
ballpark?
but I think that would be something that we,
Okay.
would help a veteran out.
Okay, do we have one in our community too?
I'm gonna check on that
Okay.
and see. But
All
I
right.
did see that in the paper. Do you see that, Paul?
Mhm.
I mean, that was,
So
I think that's a good thing for somebody, you know?
I think so too. So perhaps we should come back with the proposals written and the actual cost, because it's not it's a nice sum of money, but it's not a pot of gold ever ending, so
Yeah.
maybe is that what you would like us to put a proposal together, or the
Yes,
cost?
Yeah, and the cost.
And-
I'd like to find out about that. and
Okay.
Get a cost on it, you know?
Okay.
Because it's out of Pennsylvania,
Okay,
so.
I think it's a great idea,
Okay.
we'll
Alright.
check into it. Okay. Our next meeting is tomorrow, so you won't have those proposals by tomorrow. I'm just saying, from me. You won't have those proposals at tomorrow's meeting, at the next meeting. The next meeting, I'll get them to you. All right.
The other thing we have is the health agent. I don't know what we're gonna do with this, but we had a health agent, who was gonna work 2 days a week, and now she's down to 1 day a week.
Oh,
And we're backed up. We have to do, we're supposed to all the eating establishments, the schools, the pools. I mean, we're way behind on this.
did we advertise
So,
through the chair?
well, what I'm saying, we gotta come up with something better than what we're doing right now. Because, I mean, we're just in a total turmoil, and with all the things that's happening in the country and the world today, I think we should do something and probably think about getting a full-time health agent. somebody that we can keep in our town. Because right now, all these other towns are grabbing these people and doing what they're doing with them and giving them more money and more time and more hours. And we're always on the end of the totem pole, you know, and so we're stuck with nobody again, you know? I mean, I'm right back to where I started from when I first started this. So I don't know, I think the board should consider doing something with this and think about getting our own full-time agent.
If I may, through the chair, it's the perfect opportunity because we're getting into the budget cycle, so if we can work it into the budget as far as
For me?
cost, well, just for, yeah, to put it in the budget, that way we know we have a, we know we can obviously pay for it, which is obviously
Right.
very important, so. In the meantime, yeah, was there, through the chair, was there any, did we advertise again?
No, we didn't, because I wanted to talk to the young lady that's doing it now to see where I was gonna stand with her.
Oh, okay.
And she'd be looking to take full-time, you know, if we offered it, but right now,
So we're
you know,
still in our way.
she's 4 days a week
Okay.
at, you know, another town.
Okay.
So
All right. Yeah, it's definitely something to see what we can do to get that done.
So I don't know if you wanna consider for the next, to table it for the next meeting, or to vote out. I mean, we gotta do,
Through
we
the
gotta
chair,
do
I-
something, we gotta do something shortly, because
Yeah, through the chair,
we
I
can't
think,
keep prolonging it, you know?
Right.
I think there are two things that you're talking about. One, you're talking about getting a full-time agent, and I've heard what Selectman Federici was saying, to go ahead and plan for that in our next budget cycle. But right now, you have an immediate need. So I would suggest that we go ahead and advertise for, what were we at, 22 hours at that?
Well, 15. I wanted 20, but you cut me to 15. But the reason we
Okay, 20.
can't keep one
Is because-
is they all say the same thing.
It's
We don't
not
pay them
enough.
mileage. It's not enough money for the credentials that they have to have for the
Right.
job. And, you know, and the hours, I mean, they need more hours. Because it takes a while, once you go out, you may have to go out to one place 2 or 3, 4 times.
Right.
And then you get the paperwork to do when you get back.
Right.
And to send out notifications. I mean, it's a little more involved than what some people think it is.
I hear you. So do you think, through the chair, do you think that adding mileage would solve it? Two
No.
questions. Do you think adding mileage would solve it? And two, what's our budget looking like right now, what we have left in the,
You'd have to
in
ask
the
Nick
health
on
department?
that. On the budget, Nick, for the,
Well, we would be below what we would have expected to pay had somebody been on board full, you know, for 15 hours from July 1st. So in respect, what the actual number is year-to-date relative to what we would have spent, I don't have that figure. It's less, so, which means we have a little bit of room for the remainder of the year as far as the salary goes. As far as if you wanted to look at doing mileage, I think the budget could likely support that pretty easily.
Okay.
And if we went, and again, budgeting bottom line on the health item, when you combine personal service, which would be the salary type expense, and the other expenses that are the operations, if you will, and we budget bottom line, then I think you could support looking at some kind of an increase in hours, but probably not, certainly not a full-time, I don't think.
But 20, maybe 20 hours?
But if you call it 19, but. You know,
Call it 19,
call it
right,
19,
got
but
it.
19 might be feasible through the end of the fiscal year.
Would that help, through the chair, Billy?
I'd like to try it. It's
Okay.
better than what we're doing right now, you know?
Okay.
See
Well,
if we can keep somebody.
So
So
would you?
I'd like to make a motion to increase the hours to 19 hours and pay what the
Mileage?
going rate is for mileage.
Oh, you're going to 19 and the mileage? I thought it was or the mileage. Okay. How much mileage are we talking, do you know about?
It wouldn't be, it depends where they're from. It wouldn't be the mileage from the house, it'd just
No.
be mileage within the town.
Right. Well, for purposes, I'll move your motion. So moved.
You didn't finish it.
Oh,
Okay, so just to clarify, and I'll second it, now I'll ask for clarification of the motion.
To advertise in the paper, or wherever we advertise it, for a 19-hour position and mileage.
Okay.
uh,
Okay. Could I amend it to mileage as long as we're not going over what we have in our established budget? I'd like to amend it to say that, only because we don't want to go over what we don't have.
To the chairman, if I could make a suggestion, if the board's considering the mileage and appreciate what you're saying about that being an unknown, a variable, then perhaps the board would consider a flat stipend on mileage or something like that. And figure out what level that would be, not to bring it right up to a level where you're gonna run out, but, and that does have some precedent, because that was a way going back to Mr. Kowal, when he was here, he was paid a monthly stipend on mileage. And so that was the way that the board
Okay.
had done it. What that number would or should be, my best estimate, I think Mr. Kowal at that time, and that was after being here so many years and receiving, was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $300, maybe $400 by the time he left
Each month?
each month. Yeah.
which, with the IRS, if you're going by like the IRS rates, which are like 50, 55 cents, then that's 600 or less miles, which divided up by week, 150 a week. It's not too tough to reach when especially if you're traveling all around on a daily basis. So, but
You think they do 150 miles?
Well, I'm not sure, but I mean, if that's not a tremendous amount, that's
A week?
that's 30 miles a day. So if you
But we're a small town.
True. But obviously there was a precedent with Mr. Kowal, so at some point someone looked.
But that was
did the
years
research
of
on
experience, though.
Well,
He
yeah, but
was here for how many
it doesn't-
years?
But it doesn't matter how many years you have to drive. You're going to drive the car whether you have 1 year experience or 10 years experience. You don't
Mhm.
base the vehicle allowance on experience. Maybe their salary, but. So I mean, we may want to have to look at it and come back on the 18th, and just get an idea of what the budget holds and get an idea of what we can do for stipend, for the allowance. This is all through the chair. I apologize. So, and then at least we got an idea, and if it's not 300, if it's 200, or where we determine that X number of miles works out to a certain amount, then at least we can justify it.
Okay, but in the interest of moving things along, through the chair, would you be able, if we didn't say exactly what the stipend was with regards to mileage, and just say mileage to be determined and the 19 hours?
Right.
Can I make a motion to amend that?
Yeah,
You move it?
yeah.
And so, will you second it?
I'll second it
All-
for discussion. Do we
discussion.
want to say mileage to be determined or stipend to be determined, because
The
it's two different
stipend,
things?
the stipend for mileage to be
Okay.
determined.
All right.
So we'll vote on that, right?
Mhm.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now it's been amended, so now we need to vote on the actual motion. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that,
All right.
so through the chair, that gives you the opportunity to go ahead and at least start
We'll find out what
advertising?
we got, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna put that in the paper, Nick? What's that go for 2 weeks?
I'll work with you on those particulars, the getting in the paper and all of that, yeah.
The only thing, remember when we advertised that the last time, we got some off the wall.
You can't help that.
But I mean, maybe if we really itemize what the job is about, you know, because we were getting nurses applying for this. I don't think they understood what the job was that was being advertised.
I would agree. I think it could be worded in certain ways to just say that the experience is necessary, with the municipality or working it in some manner. That this is not a learning position. We need a person who has experience in providing these services.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
The next thing we got is the MRC grant and Green E. Hi, Chris.
Hi there, Carlene. Good to meet you. Hi, there, good to see you. Hi, Carlene. Hi, good to see you. So, Mr. Gorman, we haven't met yet, so I just wanted to give you a quick lowdown about the MRC.
Yeah.
So the MRC, or the Medical Reserve Corps, our town MRC unit was founded in 2009 by one of our residents, Frank Morosino, with the help of the local emergency planning committee and the Board of Selectmen. Our team itself consists of 26 members, both medical and non-medical, who assist in preparing for and responding to public health and other emergencies, along with routine events during the year. Typically, we attend the National Night Out and the open house at the firehouse. We're one of 10 units in Hampden County. And some of the responsibilities that I have to take care of as part of your coordinator is recruiting, training, and maintaining our volunteers, maintaining records. We have a database and a budget, as you know. Public awareness and outreach through some various events that we do and presentations that I may give on behalf of our unit. Media campaigns and presentations to corporate partners. And of course, I'm also on call for times of emergency. I do a lot of communicating between the various departments throughout the town, along with Hampden County and with the state as well. So one of the major things that I have to do for you is to apply for this grant every year. The unit is run strictly by this specific grant from NACHO. And I know you already received a copy of that. So I'm just here tonight to seek approval for the budget line items. And once we take care of that, it will get submitted and hopefully get approved by the federal government. And then when they approve it, they will send a formal contract to me in the mail, which you will be responsible for signing, Mr. Gorman. And then the three of you will have to approve that as well.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
So moved?
A second?
Discussion.
Is there a second?
I just want to
Is there
say,
any further discussion?
yes, you do a wonderful job, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
And now you have to train another one, but it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Now, you did that when we had that emergency at Bersham Park. You did all that?
I didn't have anything to do with that because I wasn't on board yet.
Oh, you weren't on board? then?
But that event actually prompted me getting
Yeah.
involved with this.
Well,
But I heard that we did have volunteers from the unit there.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
That was a wake-up
Mr.
call.
Chairman,
Right.
Yeah.
I think, Carlene, if I could, just, I think your first weekend on the job, we did have an event where we had to activate, and with a severe rainstorm or tropical storm.
Ah.
So she's on the job officially for half a day, and she was already in the response room.
That's right, yes. Several hours that night
Yeah.
over at the firehouse trying to figure out what everybody was going to do, and then just being on call for the next few days. Yeah, that was one way to get involved,
I tell
right?
you.
Yeah, that's what I would
What are
say,
they?
yeah.
Christening by fire, I think.
Right.
Baptism by fire.
Right.
Now, are you going to do the training again?
Yes,
For all of
and
us?
Do you have a
Um,
date by any chance?
Well, we were supposed to have one actually in November. And I don't know if you've heard or not, but our Hampton County coordinator has left and had moved out to California. And she's the one that's responsible for coordinating and gathering the area ongoings. And she has not been replaced yet, and I haven't heard any word about this train-a-thon. If I do hear of it, I will pass the information on to Nick,
Okay.
and then he can forward to the three of you.
Okay.
I will say that it's a one-day training, but it's pretty interesting.
What date
You
is
learn
that?
a lot. I don't have a date yet. I just know it was sometime in November. Okay?
Okay.
All right,
Great.
great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Good
much.
to meet
Glad
you.
to meet you.
Thanks. Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, where are we here?
We're in 19.
Right. MFR contract.
MRF, yeah.
The MFR contract will expire on June 30th, 2015. The MFR agreement allows us for 2 delivery options. Municipalities may continue to deliver their materials in a dual stream paper and container separate, or municipalities may deliver in one single stream paper commingled with containers like we're doing right now, right, Nick? That's what we do now. There's no requirement for the dual stream community to convert. For those municipalities interested in converting to a single stream, WMRA has upgraded a facility on Tremont Street in Springfield to include modified single stream sorting system. So we're on the single system, right, Nick? And we plan on staying with that?
Currently, we're on a dual stream.
We're on dual?
We're on dual, you have your bottles and cans 1 week and your commingle, your paper and cardboard the next. So they would consider that dual stream.
So we're on a fixed recyclable material payment then? For the-
Mr. Chairman, if I could just explain a little bit too where this comes from and why it's before you this evening. I attended a meeting last Thursday of the Western Mass recyclers headed by Arlene Miller with DEP, and it was basically with all the folks who were involved with recycling Western Mass. There were representatives from the Springfield MRF, the materials recycling facility, and they laid out that all of the communities that were there, our contract is coming up, as it says, June 30th of 2015. All of our recycling goes down to this facility on Bernie Ave in Springfield. They do have the opportunity for a single stream, which would put all your bottles and cans in your paper and collect those all at once. We're not one of those communities, and we wouldn't be at the soonest until our, maybe in this next round of hauling if we wanted to look at something like that, but there are different matters with that can sort of confuse things with a transition. What they wanted to lay out here is what they're offering for all the communities for the next contract. Recall that twice a year we have the pleasure of receiving, the town does, receiving funds from the Springfield MRF for the town's recycling efforts. A credit to the board's commitment to the program and for all the recycling during the modified pay-as-you-throw program that the citizens are engaged in. We have those payments are made up of 2 components. One is a fixed fee, and the other is a revenue sharing aspect of it, so that when the commodities, these recycling markets are high, which they were, say, 06 through 08, 09, they were really high. We were seeing some really good-sized checks. That's great. It just means we're going to do that much better. Here, what they're proposing, and the fixed fee portion currently is something like $15.67 per ton. Here, they're proposing less per ton fixed fee. And they're proposing $10 a ton FY16 and 17, and $8 a ton FY18, 19, $6 a ton for FY20. So they're proposing a 5-year contract, which from their perspective helps with the planning for their facilities because they need volume to operate and make it the business model work for them. They also have a revenue sharing plan for when commodities exceed $67 a ton. And they also talk about a no guaranteed zero tip fee. So we are not paying anything to bring those down. Our hauler brings them down. They're not weighing it, and we have to pay them. They're weighing it, and we will still have a revenue stream from those recyclables. Certainly, it's not as good on that fixed end, but it helps them to mitigate their risk in the market. One interesting speaker at this meeting, and not to prolong this discussion, but one interesting speaker there was the coordinator from the city of Springfield, and who conducted a lengthy analysis of had Springfield gone on the open market over the last several years. I think he did something like 72 or 84 months. And it was something like 17 months, and using typical open market, if you will, rather than guaranteed no tip fees and so forth. 17 of the months they would have paid. And it wouldn't have been as beneficial for them to do it that way. So they were looking at this, and for them, it seems to make more sense. I'm not saying that we have to follow Springfield, but there was some very good analysis done and provided at the meeting, at least verbally. So this is a first look for the Board of Selectmen, Board of Health. I wouldn't expect a decision on this to be made right away. But to go out into the open and try and find it, there could be months where if we were on our own, that's sort of the very big unknown and a downside. When the market's price for these commodities go down, we could end up having to pay on a given month, depending on the contract. So it's a conservative contract. It still does give us revenue stream, and I'd like to bring this back to the board at a future meeting, and certainly be willing and able to answer any questions, or if you want me to look into any other research for this, please let me know.
He didn't give you a date on that, on that?
Well, they were ready to sign people up right then and there, I think.
Yeah.
Because that helps them better. But what they understand too here is that they're looking for commitments from communities as soon as possible. And one question that I don't have the answer for the board for tonight is, this is proposing a 5-year contract that would likely need to go before town meeting to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into that 5-year agreement. But I believe that has been addressed at the last town meeting. It's a matter I haven't caught up with town council to talk about the issue. I believe at the last annual town meeting, there was an article that was passed that would act as an umbrella to allow for the board to go into this kind of a 5-year agreement for solid waste disposal. So that was a matter that I believe was handled. I just need to have that confirmation from town council and bring that to the board.
Through the chair, is there any incentive for us to sign early, any monetary incentive for us to sign early as opposed to waiting?
Thank you, I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh,
Because it
I was trying to look.
jogged my memory. They hinted that a letter is going to be coming within the next couple of weeks, very soon. And in that letter, they are going to offer some sort of modest incentive. Perhaps it might be something like, if you recall on the letters, when we get our letter for the annual in August, I think you had even pointed it out, that there was an assessment for educational materials.
Right.
They're thinking about maybe waiving partial or something like that. So they didn't want to tip their hand entirely. But
Okay, understood. So typically the turnaround time for if they, have we ever gotten this before? Where the incentive? I guess where I'm going is typically the turnaround time is a month, 2 weeks, 1 day, 2 days, what?
For a decision?
Yeah, for a decision, if they were to offer this incentive.
I have to tell you
Not sure.
that none of us here could answer that question because this is the end of a 20-year contract.
Oh, okay.
So it's a first
Okay.
for all of us.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Thank
Okay,
you.
any more discussion?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
The last item I got here is rigid plastic site, plastic recycling. The MRF announces new material collection beginning November 15th. The Springfield MRF will be accepting separate loads of bulky, rigid plastic from MRF member communities. The specifications of material will be accepted in these loads is listed below. These materials should not be mixed with curbside or drop-off bottles and cans. This is going to be a separate thing. Or should be collected in a separate container. Delivered to the MRF will be by appointment. Call 413-784-1129 to make an appointment, and contact Arlene Miller at arlene773@aol.com or 567-5027 with questions. And they give you a list of mixed, bulky, rigid specs here.
Fine.
So that'll be on November 15th.
Say if I may through the chair, this might be something to put on the town website so townspeople can get an idea of what a bulky, rigid plastic item is.
Is that on our website?
Well, no, but we can put it on there.
Yeah.
We can get this list.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add a little bit to this too. This was also part of the discussion at that meeting last Thursday. This list is not complete.
Oh,
It's, and that came out as part of the discussion at the meeting. There was some discussion in particular about coolers, but beyond that.
oh, I thought for sure I was gonna get rid of my cooler.
However, what I need to let you know is it's not for individual, people can't make an appointment and drive down to Bernie Ave and drop the stuff off. That's not the point, and I think that that's sort of, with this flyer as well, it's not clear who the audience really is.
Okay.
The audience is really the municipal audience and not the individual resident. What I wanted to bring this to the board's attention is that it is something that is available starting the 15th of November, but it would be available in the sense that if we had a spot where we could put a 10-yard roll-off container and have people drive there and throw these types of items in there, then we could make the appointment. When it says make the appointment, it's the municipality calling up saying, we want to come down tomorrow with our roll-off and dump, whatever those rigid plastics are. Now, I spoke with, just briefly, again, with Mr. Parent in DPW, and it was a preliminary conversation, but I think while the service may be certainly of some value, there's a question about the ability to handle the extra roll-off up at the transfer station. So unfortunately, this may not be something that that we may be able to provide offhand, but it's something that I wanted to let the board know about, and at the board's direction, if you want me to try and pursue it a little bit further with Mr. Parent and perhaps the Board of Public Works, I'd be glad to see if there's something that can be done.
Yeah, I would like you to pursue that, Nick. And maybe get a date that people could bring once, if it's feasible, that we could bring stuff up there. And, because it'd have to be before that November 15th date then, huh?
Well, that's the date that they're starting their collection down at the MRF. So that's, from that date forward, whoever has a program, they're saying that they can participate by bringing it down there.
Is there a time limit?
And also, as my understanding is, they will, no, there wouldn't be any time limit. It would be a service they would offer going forward. I understand that the weights that would be collected would also go towards our recycling, which
Okay.
wouldn't,
Is there a charge for it? Or is it included in what we already have through the chair?
it's, my understanding is that there's not a charge to bring these materials down there, because,
Okay.
again, they're in turn selling them to whatever markets that they're connected into to help with their operating. But I think the initial thought is that there may be limitations for what the transfer station can handle
Got it.
here in town. But with that direction, I could at least explore that a little bit more with Mr. Parent.
Okay, that'd be good.
All right, thank you. I think you're all set. Why don't we go to meetings, invitations, and reminders if we could?
Okay. Special town meeting today, October 27th, 7 PM, East Long Meadow High School, 180 Maple Street. Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, October 28th, at 5 PM in the Town Hall Hearing Room. State elections on Tuesday, November 4th, at Birchland Park Middle School from 7 AM to 8 PM. Town offices will be closed on Tuesday, November 11th, in observance of Veterans Day. Hampden County Public Health Improvement Forum is on Thursday, November 13th, from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. At the Holyoke Community College, and that's in the Kittredge Room. Board of Selectmen meeting and tax classification hearing on Tuesday, November 18th at 6 p.m. The place to be announced. Springfield MRF 25th anniversary celebration on Tuesday, November 20th, 9:30 a.m. to noon at the Delaney House in Holyoke, RSVP by November 7th. Hazardous material tabletop exercise, Tuesday, November 25th, 2014, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the East Long Meadow Fire Station located at 150 Summers Road. Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday, November 25th, 6 p.m., Town Hall Hearing Room.
Thank you.
Just, Mr. Chairman, if I could add, to be announced on the board's meeting on the 18th was the decision on the fire chief's offer. That meeting will now be held at the Council on Aging.
Okay.
That room has been reserved.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, the Murph party at the Delaney House, think they'll trash the place? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh.
But I digress.
Keep your day job. Keep your day job.
I don't know about of the items on town council, I'm thinking maybe 25 is the only one that's not executive.
24 is,
I know.
and 21 would be.
22, I believe. and
Did you say the
23.
only one that isn't?
That isn't, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I apologize.
No, that's okay.
I think you're right.
So I don't know if Nick, do we need town council to discuss the municipal cable box?
I would like to have his input. Can we put that on
Sure.
Tuesday?
Well,
We can get some background right now from,
If you want, I mean, I'm ready to.
yeah, because we have a little bit of time. Do you mind, through the
Yeah.
chair?
No, no
If
problem.
he-
I've had a little bit more correspondence too, so.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, I was
Well,
planning on
it's an
doing it.
important issue
Good evening.
because
Yeah, it is.
Well, and time's
It is.
short. Good evening, good evening.
We've been meeting, so, it's,
So, here, I'll give you these. I just printed these out a short time ago. So this is over the end of last week. And today, exchange I've had with a woman named Barbara LaCourcy, who is from Charter Business. She's the person that I was put in touch with to resolve some of the questions. So for the general public viewing, the issue is, and I think Charter subscribers in town know, that on November 11th, people who have in the past had cable coming into the house and had their basic service through a cable directly into the TV now need to have a digital box in order to decode that signal, so that essentially every TV that they plan to watch in the house will have to have a digital box.
yeah.
That is also true for the cable service that Charter provides on a complimentary basis to the town in municipal buildings. And the best example, really the one that pertains, is the senior center, where the residents who utilize the senior center in the common room, in the billiards room and in the
Exercise.
gym, in the exercise room, all have, there are TVs in there. Now, the town is going to incur the cost of not only the rental of the digital converter box, other than the one complimentary one that provided by Charter. They're also going to pay a $5 fee for each of the drops that feeds those televisions. That's, and I confirmed that, and the exchange that I just handed
so
you
that's what-
confirms, I asked that again today.
Wow.
So I think that was a conversation I did have with Attorney Donahue on Thursday, I believe, Thursday evening, or Wednesday evening last
Wednesday.
week. And so the question there is, those drops have been there for a long time.
Exactly.
They're being used now. How does Charter start charging a monthly fee for those drops?
Exactly.
I have not gotten an explanation from Charter how that works. I asked, I confirmed that that's the policy,
And they-
but I
they
think
did.
it's probably the board's purview to pursue that through Attorney Donahue, so.
And through the chair, that would represent a sizable increase in the Council of Age, just the Council of Aging's budget, because I believe they have 12 outlets there, and so it's going to be somewhere around, I think she said about $3,000 extra.
My recollection, I don't have the notes from
Yeah, and
what she
I'm
said, but,
operating from that.
so they have 8 outlets. I
Yeah,
think
8
it was
TVs, yeah.
$1,300 a year
Mm-hmm.
for the 8 TVs at the $10.
Right. but
And the
plus-
$10 charge applies to the third outlet. They really
This is.
could make it more complicated if they tried, but the first, one outlet and
Is
one,
this their lovely parting gift?
yeah, one outlet and one converter box is
Right.
free.
Okay,
To the
right.
town, for the for the
Exactly.
license.
Okay, got it.
A second outlet and a second box would be a $5 charge for the box,
Right, plus.
but not the outlet.
But not the outlet.
But the
What?
third outlet and the third box then would incur a $5.99 box rental and a $5 outlet charge
Okay, so
See.
$10.99 for 3 through
for the
whatever.
third and over.
Yeah.
Well, she's got here, the second outlet would incur an equipment charge of $5.99.
That's why I printed this out.
And
Okay,
that's only for the first 12 months.
right, after that's $12 an outlet, it's $12 a television basically after that. Did you ask her, why don't you ask her to give us a comparison of satellite television versus this?
And her is not Carolyn Brennan, just for clarification.
her is
Her would
Barbara
be the
Lacursi.
representative.
Right.
Okay,
And as you
from
know, the
Charter.
last exchange
Just-
I had, when I asked her, now, this is this happening to residential customers? Mm-hmm. That they're all told, and they've all been aware that they have to rent the extra boxes. But do they know, or if in fact, they're
Right.
gonna start charging them for the additional drops that they've had hanging in the cellar for all these years?
Mm-hmm.
And why would they only charge municipalities that fee if they're not gonna
Gonna
charge
charge
the
the
residents
residents.
that
I don't think
fee?
they said anything about the drops when this was presented to us. Just the
No.
No, it's never come up.
Just the
No.
$5.99.
No, it's never been at any
This,
of ours
this,
either.
this email, this top email was the first inquiry I made about, because they want to know before the 11th, how many buildings and how many TVs the town wants installed in its buildings. But they wanted a number, and they would happily have come and installed them and then billed us for the ones that were over the one. I said, well, wait a minute, I want to find out how much it's going to cost, and it's not up to me.
Right.
I was just getting the information. So they never said anything about the cost for the extra drops or boxes until that email.
Tell this email.
So that's why I think it's important for Attorney Donahue
Attorney Donahue
to,
to look it over. Yeah, and this also brings up, you know, we're going through the negotiations, but, my understanding is that Comcast will take on the same, whatever we negotiate, they will keep.
with
But if-
Charter, right.
Yeah,
If we
but
sign a
if
contract.
if Comcast is not charging for this, and now Charter is, we're gonna have to pay it over at Comcast, so we need to get this straight, and.
We do need to get it straight.
Enter Attorney Donahue,
Talk about the devil.
just in time. Don't even sit down, come on up.
Put on your cable television hat.
Hey.
You were?
You know, he cleans up pretty good, huh?
There it goes.
But you know, Don, they never mention that at all at those meetings, huh?
We're talking about the drop charges and the other charges for the cable and.
Thank you.
You'll give me another one, right?
Yep.
When did you get this email, Don?
This was last, I'm gonna say a week ago Monday. I mean, a week ago today. The top one. And I apologize for doing it this way, but there were,
So many.
to print out, it would have been 5 pages, and then, so these are the sort of salient points. So between a week ago and this morning, this is the
So,
general dialogue.
just for starters, I mean, if you think about it, in year 2 or whenever that starts with, it's $7 and $5. You're talking $96 a month for just the box and the drop at the senior center before you even get to the cost of the cable service.
Right.
Right, and so based on knowing, I was sent a form by charter to assess how many outlets and how many TVs were in use at the various town buildings. Excluding the school, well, not excluding the schools, but, I mean, if you added all the cable that was wired by charter in the classrooms,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
that's a huge number. But town hall, fire, police, council on aging, the DPW building, Pine Knoll, and then 2 drops at each school building. Totals 41 outlets, and of which they're using 34 currently amongst all those buildings for television service. The big ones being fire, police, town hall, fire, police, and council on aging, where they have multiple TVs. So, that's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, it's $400 a month for.
So I did have a conversation with council last Wednesday or so, and he had one suggestion.
Well, first of all, I mean, they have the right to set the rental for their items, and you have the right to negotiate with them in the next franchise what drops you're going to get at a free rate. But in the interim, you do have the subscriber fee that's paid on an annualized basis to the community, which is only usable for cable-related services and equipment. So to the extent that this is going to add additional costs to the community, I think it's legitimate for you to pay those additional costs out of that cable fund. That comes from the charter company to the city or the town.
Through the chair? Is it, since we have a contract already and it hasn't been past practice, is it legal for them to turn around and do this before that contract is up? Or the agreement, or the license that we have?
My understanding is that the drops, after talking with Don, that the drops that they provided were 1 drop per building. And under the old technology, the community was able to split that drop into a number of different sites.
Right.
And so the cable company was only agreeing to give you 1 drop. We were splitting that drop out to as many as we needed within the building without going back to them. So this is due to this change in technology, we need a drop for each TV that we're going to have. So it isn't really a change in what they're doing, except to the extent that they're changing their technology.
Which they're allowed to do under their license. Okay, all right.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, I guess the question, though, then we discussed this briefly, and the question I still have and haven't had an opportunity to get an answer from Charter, a real explanation is, those split additional drops in each building the technology requires that the town rent a box in order to utilize that drop, But what is the legal basis for Charter to then charge rental on the drop itself, which is what they're doing? They're gonna charge $5 a month for the outlet. So if one drop came into the senior center and was split into 8 outlets,
Yep.
they're gonna charge $5 a month per outlet, in addition to their box rental.
And they
Right.
knew that it was split.
Right.
though.
And that seems like they're charging for something that doesn't belong to them.
Well, their drop now is one drop.
Correct.
So, under the new technology, are you going to have to add 4 more drops?
No, you can utilize the
The
same
drop.
drop, but you have to
Yeah.
put a box on the end of it. So you're renting the box, I understand that.
Right.
But they're also now renting the drop that you're connecting to back to you,
That's
but you
existing.
installed it.
The outlet.
Yeah, that's existing.
Well, again, and I'm going to defer a little bit because the town has in the past utilized a specific attorney to represent it in its prior dealings, in negotiating all of the contracts. Epstein, I think, Peter Epstein. And so to the extent that there were nuances in that agreement as to what the community got for free and what they had to pay for, but the cable statute, the federal statute, as I understand it, prohibits the communities from dictating the rate for the rental of equipment and also what is going to be rented versus given. As long as it's still retained, the ownership is retained by the cable company, and they determine they're going to rent it. I think the issue is going to come down to the new contract when it comes up, when Comcast comes back in to say, what the heck are you going to do in the interim? But I would think that in the interim, any costs, additional costs are going to be charged to the town for any of these drops and/or the cable boxes that are related to those boxes. I would think that there should be, I may be wrong, but I would think there should be enough money in the cable, annual cable payment, except in addition to the 50-cent licensing fee, but the annual payment that comes to the community from the cable company
Understood.
to offset those, so it's not a separate appropriation that's going to be needed to fund these. But
If
again,
I
we
might-
should be probably talking with Comcast and say, you know, you want to come back for a franchise, we should talk about what's fair.
I was just gonna say, if as for now, to get this going, we pay it out of the money that the town gets in their, fee, but I would assume this could be a negotiating item, since we're coming up on a new contract,
Absolutely.
so, okay.
Absolutely.
So, I guess,
So it's not a set deal.
well, this is a done deal as long as Charter is operating as our licensed cable provider for the town of East Long Meadow. This is going to happen. My thought, that I might suggest to the board, is that in the immediate short term, by November 11th, we indicate that we want 1 free drop and 1 digital box per building location as a complimentary, which will be complimentary for the life of the license. Get that done in the next couple of weeks so that the service doesn't go dead.
Right.
And then resolve the issues of additional boxes and who wants how many. There are a couple of other options. You can actually take that 1 box that comes in and take the output from that and split it. Same way you would split the old cable signal, but now you're splitting it at the box. The only issue with that is all the TVs that come off of that
Be on the
have to
same
be on the
station.
same
On the same
channel.
station, yeah.
Now, that may or may not be an issue. What some schools have done, where this is an issue, where you've got 60 classrooms, is they may put in 4 boxes and then split each of those 4 boxes. That gives the school basically 4 channels to choose from. So you're only paying for 4 boxes, and you're still getting television to most. So there are a number of configurations. We also talked the other day at the cable advisory meeting about some other options for
Right.
certain locations that might solve this problem. So my recommendation in the short term would be just get the free ones and get them installed. And then, discuss it further and look at some more options in the
Well,
interim.
you're going to have, through the chair, you're gonna have to get the approval of the cable company to do those additional splits off those boxes, arguably.
Actually, that was a suggestion made to me by Barbara LaCursi.
That's fine, if
So-
they authorize it, that's fine with us.
Right.
But we need that to be authorized, because otherwise we're taking their service without
Right.
compensating them for it. It's a
Understood.
problem for us.
So you might want to find out about that. And then,
Confirm it, yeah.
but since this has to be done November 11th, should we make a motion? Should we vote on the one box per? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to allow our LCAT director
So moved.
to request just one box per location for the time being until we sift through this and decide what we want to do as far as multiple boxes in different town buildings.
So moved.
Is there a second?
There is a second.
Any discussion?
Just make sure to keep us abreast and the committee abreast, and
Well-
I know you'll do that anyway.
Yeah.
They won't lock us in, but we'll look at.
Into what?
No, that's
No,
why I
no.
suggest we only get the free ones,
Yeah.
because we're eligible for that.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Through the chair. I noticed that well, maybe we can do it tomorrow.
What's that?
We're supposed to talk about the LCAT compensation. And we went into executive session the last time and we didn't talk about it. We can do it tomorrow. I have it on for tomorrow. It's okay.
Well, it depends on if you want town council, because I don't think town council's going to be here tomorrow.
Oh, then can I ask for something to be added then? I don't think we need town council, do we?
No, just executive.
Yeah, okay, we can do it tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Before I invite you back up, because you're our last customer anyways, are you just listening?
I am.
Okay, all right. I just want to verify with you, the way I looked at it, 21, 2, 3, and 4 are all executive.
The 21, 23, depends what the update is, and 24, yes.
Okay, so 22 isn't?
22 would be, that's a bargaining issue. It's not an issue for bargaining, it's a request from the union, and your response could be discussed in executive as a bargaining response, so yes, it could be a collective
Okay,
bargaining.
all right.
I
So-
believe 23 would be as well.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session to discuss matters of union bargaining. How would you word 21 and 24?
21 and 24 are matters
Process
of
relating to-
employees' right to privacy
Okay.
under Chapter 20, Chapter 214, Section 1B.
Okay, and then what about 23?
23 would be the same issue,
Okay,
right to privacy.
then what he said, to return to open session, because our meeting runs concurrently with the town meeting, I believe, so we're not going to adjourn, right?
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye. Was it moved?
I move, all
Yeah,
right.
moved. And get your second?
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Selectman Gorman?
Yes.
Selectman Thorpe?
Yes.
Selectman Federici?
Yes.
All right. All right, we gotta do this quickly.